Hello and welcome once again to the Dwarven Tavern. I am your host, Lyric, bringing you a review, and this review is on the Dwarves the Duel card game. This was made by, or based on a novel by Marcus Heights, which is a novel that I have been searching for a very long time, and I have not been able to find it. For some reason, every single time I go to the bookstore, it has the sequels, but not the first book, and it drives me nuts. I've been trying to find it forever. So, this is a card game based on that novel. So maybe they actually have some characters in this card game that refer to characters in the novel, but I don't know that because I haven't read it yet. But it would be cool if you have read it and you recognize the characters therein. So, this is a game for 10 and up people. No, 10 and up aged people, like people at 10 years old and then so on and so forth. 20 to 40 minutes, which I think the game that I played with Taverneer Josh was roughly 15 to 20 minutes long. It was fairly fast. And I think it only took as long as it did because we were futzing around with the instructions. Because this was the first time that we had played it, and it's for 2 people only, so 2 players. You cannot play this by yourself, and you cannot play this with more than one other person, so it's a duel, so it's for 2 people. So, you can find this at pegasus.de. They speak German, and I think this game is, this company, Pegasus Games, is a German-based company, which is awesome. So, you can find them at /Pegasus Spiele at Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. So, onward to the gameplay. What this is the basic game that this has in it is the game of the forces of good versus the forces of evil. So one person has the good pile, and that was me because I am amazing. And then the bad pile has the bad pile, and that was Josh because he's a douchebag. No, but seriously, he chose before I could even ask. But we both know which one was going to whom. So that's that. And then this particular board game, not board game, but card game, but this one actually comes with another, I think 2 types of games that you can play, another deck. But we played the standard game. We did not choose these. We might do another review if you guys are interested. We might do a review on the expansion, but for now we'll just set those aside. So, the good versus the evil characters. I was good, he was evil, and they have a number of cards in the deck. Here are the lovely instructions, 2-sided. So what happens is you take 5 cards from your deck. I'll just pull off 5 of the good cards, and you have them in your hand, comme ça, like this, or 4 cards. I'm cheating. So you have 4 cards like this, and this is called the draw. This is the start phase. I'm getting ahead of myself. After you've shuffled your card, and this is the part that weirded me out. It said the smallest goes first. And I don't know if that means like smaller in height, smaller in weight, smaller in age. I guess it just depends on what is the consensus of the 2 people playing it at that time. So we went with the smaller in height, which was me, so I went first. So you shuffle the hand that you have chosen, place it in your draw pile, draw 4, and the game starts. So I was the smallest, and from that point, what happens is you draw 1 from your deck, add it to your hand, and then you roll 3 of the 6 lovely designed dice. They are just regular 6-sided dice, but instead of a 6, it has the axe. And what the axe is not 6, but instead it represents any number between 1 through 5. That's very cool. So if you rolled an axe, you rolled 1 through 5. It really just depended on what you needed at the time. I thought that was very cool. So from that point on, I want to select, say, I have an ally, and this ally is Narmora, and she has a 4 on her card. And that means that if I rolled the 4, I could play her. Now, that does not mean that she automatically goes. That means that she is just in my display, which is 5 cards out in front of me. So, from that point on, she has 2 health, which means that the other person would have to inflict 2 damage to kill her. But if not, then she sits in front of me. This is another point that I really liked. If they only inflicted 1 point of damage to Narmora, who has 2 health points, if they only inflicted 1 in the round, then it does nothing. It doesn't mean that she only has 1 hit point left. It doesn't mean that she turns sideways to represent that singular hit point left. It means that if they did not do 2 points of damage, then nothing happens to her and she stays in my display pile. I thought that was very cool. One of my biggest concerns with card games is keeping track of a person's card's health. How do you keep track of all of those players or all of those characters on the board, and how do you keep track of all of their hit points? So that was very cool, and I like that very much. I have a feeling that that would be disagreed with for some people, like, oh, I did 2 points of damage to a person that has 3 health points. Well, you need 3 to kill them, and you need 3 to get rid of them. So if you only did 2, well, they're still there. And I like that a lot. So, anyway, I know how that could be a problem for some, but for me that got bonus points. So, I rolled a 4, I put her up on the table in front of me, and if I rolled another 4, then she gets to attack, and that means she inflicts 1 point of damage. So, that being said, there are other types of cards that I could play. There is the event cards, which this one is Help from the Ancestors. I get to pull an ally from the discard pile. Victory points, which leads you toward the victory. For example, this guy has 2 Twist of Fate cards, which can act at any point in time in the game, even when your opponent is going. So, for example, the Chainmail card has negate a point of damage. So if they're throwing an axe, which has 1 point of damage, you can say like, oh, I play the Chainmail, Twist of Fate, turns out I negate that point of damage. So that's cool. And then, of course, the Ally card, which is just people in your tribe or clan or whatever. And then, lastly, if I can find it real quick, there is Support, which these are characters in-game that can help you do things like this guy is Rodario. I believe he is a bard. he sounds and looks like a bard. Rodario's trickery in each dice phase. I'm going to call it die phase because I believe that's proper grammar. In each die phase, you can re-roll 1 die. Again, that's pretty cool. We didn't actually re-roll that much. We didn't actually need to, which is okay. Each game is different, but he wasn't very useful. Just like most bards. No, but really. And one of the big moments was when Rodario got discarded, and I was like, no, Rodario! Not my bard! It was a fun moment. You had to be there. So, those are the 5 different cards, and you can play any of them if you have the die for it. So, that's pretty much it, and then it's just back and forth, doing damage on whosever card you choose. For example, let's just lay them out real quick. The evil guy has an ally whose name is Synthoras. Synthoras, I'll say. He inflicts 1 point of damage, and then I play the event Beerstein. You can use a 2 die you rolled and have not used yet, as though it were an axe, which means if I needed, say, a 5 and up for another ally, I could play them and then inflict the damage on Synthoras and kill him. So the object of the game is you play until both decks are out, or one deck has reached the final bit that it has. So, in order to win, you need victory points. And victory points are defined on their cards. This one is Forging Keenfire. I guess that's the axe, or the hammer. It looks like an axe. At the end of this game, this card is worth 4 victory points. So, at the end of the game, which is when a deck has run out, that is when you count up your victory points. I ended up with 16 victory points, and Josh ended up with 11, I believe, which means I won. However, if you do tie, it really depends on who... If you tie, if you both end up with the same amount of victory points, then the person who actually had cards left wins. That's just how it is. So, lastly, before I get too ahead of myself, there are 3 wild cards. And you can draw these if you have a die left, 2 dice left, or 3 dice left, because there are 3 of these, and you can have up to 3 of them at one point in time, even if the other person has one. You can steal it from them. So, these are basically what they look like. These are, hey, I actually want another 2 axes for the thing that I need to roll up. You can play your 2 wild cards, and there you go. You have 2 dice that are axes. Exactly what you need. So, hopefully that wasn't too rambly, but there you go. It probably would have been easier to show you the actual gameplay, but it's a very slow battle game. It's not as fast-paced as I was expecting it to be. The beginning was a little confusing, and the rules were a little confusing, but it wasn't because the information wasn't there. It was just kind of worded strangely. I wouldn't even say that. It was very clear and very concise, but it felt like there was something missing, and I just don't know what it is. I can't place it correctly. It might feel like that gaping hole that is there might not feel there if I had actually read the book, and I really want to. But I don't think that had anything to do with it, because I didn't realize that this was based off of a board game, or based off of a novel, excuse me, until after we had played it for the first time, and I had gotten the hang of it. So, that being said, it felt like there was something missing, and at first we were confused, but as the game continued, we felt, a little more at ease, and was a little more comfortable, and it actually got really fun. I feel like this is a game that you can play on a rainy day. This is a game that you can play if you're trying to catch up with a friend, and you just want to do something, just do something that's not the average. Do you want to go out and go to eat? Do you want to go watch a movie? Do you want to stay home and do whatever? You can say, hey, do you want to play the Duel board, or I keep wanting to call it board game, the Duel card game? And be like, okay, yeah, sure. So this is definitely a very casual game, in my personal opinion. There wasn't something that I forgot to mention earlier. If you have a character that is attacking your opponent, you can either attack someone that is laid out in front of you, like your allies, or you can attack the card in the draw pile. And that means that these are your health points. And I thought that was very cool. So, that's, again, something that I am very concerned with, is health points and how it's represented in a card game. Because a lot of the time, a lot of card games do that strangely. And I felt like this one was very well executed. So, that's another point for Lyric. And on top of that, all of the names of the individual places and the characters that are in this, like Rodario and Normora, the Conquest of Black Saddle was one of the victories, Queen of the Firstlings, Rescue of Greenglade, all of these names, Alundir is one of the elves in here, Boindil, Balindilin, Balindilin. These are very, very fitting names for dwarves and elves and places in a place such as this. So I like the names, and again, they might be referring to actual characters in a book, which is really cool. It kind of like, if you've read the novel and you want to feel a little more, if you like the novel, if you like the story, you can feel a little closer to the characters by having them on your side in this board game. So that card game, I don't know why I keep calling it a board game. I guess it's because I'm so used to reviewing board games in a box. So the instructions were a bit confusing, and I don't know why. It might just be the placement, like how they are laid out. Maybe they could have been a little more visual. more imagery and whatnot, maybe put in an extra $1 for a little booklet instead of just a pamphlet. I think the examples were great, but I would have liked maybe an example of gameplay. For me, it was very easy for Josh to understand, so it might just be the way that I comprehend things. So, that being said, that was the kind of the major default with it, and that's not even that big a deal. So, the instructions had all of the information that you would ever need to play this game, and then for the expansion pack, they have instructions on a different single card for you, so that you can actually look into it. And it says, in this expansion of the Dwarves, the board game, you can immerse yourself in the events of the 5th volume of the best-selling novel, The Dwarves. It will be the greatest challenge you have to face this far. So that's very cool. I like that a lot. So there is an expansion. Again, we won't get into it unless you guys ask for it. The instructions were good. Everything that you needed was there. They were clear. I'll put clear in quotation marks because I got the information, but it took me a little bit. The individual parts were easy to understand that they belong to the individual things. The good and the bad decks were color-coded, both on the front and the back. I liked these a lot. These were a really cool inclusion to a normal card game. The dice, I think, are my favorite part just because they can be used for literally anything. I might use them to roll up my Dwarven characters from now on, just because I feel like they would be fitting. I would just use the axe as a normal 6. So, that being said, since we both played this and I'm the only one on the camera, I'm still going to use his rating for it, and I'm just speaking for the both of us. I'm going to give this delicious little card game, this rainy day or shine or gossip game. I think it would be a pretty interesting drinking game, but I don't know how that would work. I think that would just be a bunch of house rules that you could incorporate into it. And I think it would be actually pretty easy for you to teach it to your child if you just teach them proper responsibility for their dice and how to not lose or consume them. So this is a very versatile game on top of it being just it's actually pretty easy to learn, and I'm just making it, I made it a lot more difficult on myself when I learned it. I just don't know, like, what I did wrong. So, that being said, I am going to give this, personally, I'm going to give this a 4, and Josh gave it a 3, because he felt that it was just a regular board game, or card game. I apologize, I keep calling it a board game, and I don't know why. He said it was just a regular card game. It was not bad, but there was nothing special to it either. So, combining our two scores, the Dwarves, the Duel, based on the novel by Marcus Heights, the 5th of the series, it gets a 3.5 out of 5 X's from the Dwarven Tavern. If you've played this game, please let us know in the comments below. We would like to hear your personal opinion. If you think ours is a little too harsh or not harsh enough. If you agree, if you are interested in anything else. If you have read the novel, please let me know because I would like to know more about it myself. I did know that it existed before this. I just did not know that these two things were intertwined. And if you are interested in seeing us play the expansion, I say for the 3rd time, please comment below because we would love to do a review for that. Maybe I will get Josh on camera for that. So on that note, I am Lyric Owens once again with the Dwarven Tavern, wishing for you to want for nothing but adventure. And first I feared it, then I charged. Thank you guys for watching and we will see you next time.